It's Slender Man!
Kill yourselves.
Peter!
Come on, it's just a goof.
I never really watched anything like Frieren before. It's probably one of the slowest paced shows I've ever watched, and it's crazy because we're going through like 2 timelines at the same time with conflicts happening in both past and present, and it's still like slow, but it's still phenomenal though, like really good, and that's odd, gang. It's super odd. It's weird. This show feels like receiving like handcrafted art or like a home-cooked meal in a way, you feel me? It feels super welcoming and charming in its own way, and it's in its own like separate bag completely, like it's in its own lane. This has slight resemblances to shit like Jabba's reincarnation when it comes to like, how you get the meat up? You wasn't even able to get your meat up, gangster. I am baffled. Slightly music and some looks, but that's pretty much where it is. It's a bit on the slower side, yes, but it kind of works to its own advantage. Its authenticity and raw feel really shines through and kind of tricks you into being okay with it, if that makes sense. I feel like this type of pacing wouldn't work with a lot of anime out there, but Frieren just made it work and made it look good too, so let's chop it up, gang.
Love you forever, but sometimes we seem to disagree. Pray that you protect her and increase my sympathy. I'm a mini you, one day I'll have a mini me. I'm your son, I shouldn't treat you like an enemy. I get annoyed when you point out all my tendencies.
I'm really glad I matured over the last couple years as an anime watcher. If this was me like 3 years ago, I would have said this shit was garbage. Back then, asking me to watch anything slice of life type shit was damn near like fighting words to me for real. Like, that was damn near the equivalent to like lighting a square, hitting that bitch as hard as you can, and then blowing the smoke on my face. Like, it was damn near considered disrespect. But now it's all cool. Like, I can pretty much vibe with anything as long as it's not weird. Like, you know what weird is, as long as it's not weird. Frieren is a show that does a good job at letting niggas know early that they don't need like constant action or a bunch of crazy shit happening early on to captivate you and get people to care. They established very early that most of his show's charm is through his funny and slightly awkward character interactions. But don't tweak, cause there's definitely some action in this bitch. It's not the primary focus, but when niggas fight, it's gorgeous, I promise you. Let's talk about the story itself for a bit. I love the approach they took. Personally, I've never really seen a show that starts after the ultimate goal is already achieved. The story also does one of those things that Heavily Delusion does, and I really loved when Heavily Delusion did it. It did like the little parallel timeline thing, but instead like this time it's a different take on it altogether because Frieren is there in both timelines. And the present is basically Frieren retracing her steps. I think this approach does so much cool shit for the story because it allows you to damn near like seamlessly incorporate flashbacks at damn near any time you want without like feeling like they interrupting the story, like a lot of anime do now. There's nothing wrong with that approach, of course, but I'm sure you can relate to this. I know you've been watching the show where it's like the end of the arc fight, like it's on some where the tension is at its peak, and you see that motherfucking white vignette pop up around that flashback, and they just slap a vintage filter on that bitch to make it look old, and you know they gotta add the little reverb and the voices to echo that old shit through your eardrums. Like, I know you've seen that. I know it pissed you off, especially if it's a character that you don't really care about. It Frieren's story structure kind of bypasses this whole like thing because A, we're already thrown in after they saved the world, and B, we're just thrown in there. Her past journey and her current journey are both new experiences for us, so it's so many triggers for these parallel moments to occur too, and I think it's really gorgeous the way they do it. It could be a saying, it could be one of her new comrades said something that one of her old comrades said also. It could be a place that they currently at in the journey that could trigger a memory of her old party being in the exact same spot. Like, this shit is genius, gang. They really did that shit with this. This is more for the present timeline of the show, but I like how they use every major city that they stop at as its own like mini arc and point of conflict. I love how they use a lot of the travel time in between to really like full send this character development of the main cast. Since this show isn't that long, we might as well run through all the checkpoints, so strap in. Let's do it. The beginning sequence was very cool. I love the beginning sequence. It's honestly pretty dark as well. So the 2 little meteor shower scenes were beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. You can kind of tell like how awkward niggas is like from jump when you first see the 2 of them. Even when they were in their old age, it's kind of cool. And it was pretty nice to see her reunite with him after the time skip. From the jump, it really makes you think about how tragic Frieren's life really is though. So obviously, we know that Frieren isn't really that good with her emotions or her talking or communication or other people's emotions either for that part. Himmel dies, right? And at the funeral, Frieren looks perfectly fine, And all the townspeople were just shit talking to her, talking about how she should be sad for her comrade, she should be sad for her folks and shit. The moment that they actually bury him, all the memories of him hit her hard as shit. She just went from showing no emotion to showing all that shit in the world. And after the funeral, Heiser was just like, damn, well, I guess I'm next. Like, yo. Like, brother, read the room. What the hell? And it's gotta make you think, like, how painful it is to actually be in her shoes. They make a little joke of it later, but she's been alive so long that her concept of time is damn near like cut completely. So humans' lifetimes feel like months to her type shit. And she has to go through the pain and grief that you gain from loss and death way more than anyone else. Damn near like in cycles of her comrades are human, which is wild to think about. But at the very least, for the two comrades that she end up losing, she gained one in her student Fern. It's really nice to see them bond. Now, finding out that she was about to kill herself when she was little was very depressing, but hey, it's some happy moments. I think Frieren brings up that flower spell here when they put him around Himmel's statue, which was a pretty sweet moment. They also let us know that these niggas ain't no slouches when it comes to action either. Although that fight with that demon was very short, it's a gorgeous glimpse into what we're gonna get going forward. In between these major points of the story, during the downtime of the show is really where you like spend a lot of the time seeing the relationship between the characters develop. Small example here, but like when Fern was spying on Frieren to make sure she ain't buy anything weird with what little money they had left, she ended up watching her shop for her birthday and just looking for a place for them to eat. And Frieren did it purely because she wanted to just be a better companion and a better friend. Frieren doesn't want to watch Fern die and end up living with that exact same regret when she saw them bury Himmel. She don't want to live with that same regret. She thinks back a lot on her interactions with him and she realized that he taught her a lot and she models her ideal future self from his lessons while trying to fix her mistakes in the past at the same time. She also wants to make a lot of pleasant memories too. That's why she decided to go to the Sunrise Festival, because she missed the one with her old party, and that's why she goes around helping people just like he did. These little moments are what put Frieren in damn near his own lane when it comes to the character development. I really like the link up with Eisen too, because in the middle of that carriage ride, when Fern was talking, like he was telling folks like she doesn't seem that she don't think that Frieren seems interested in her at all. But then she tells him that she gave her a birthday present and shit. And he thought back on her philosophy on relationships, and without saying like, hey, that's not the Frieren I know, before she would never think of someone to that extent, and she said taking on a friend is pointless. He says, Fern, you have a good master, letting her know that, hey gang, you're in good hands, I promise. And that puts her at ease. A lot of these characters aren't really that good at communicating with each other, but that only makes them more satisfying when you finally see them niggas come to a consensus. Like, I really love how this show is written. Like, these niggas feel like superhuman. Them linking up with Stark was pretty cool as well. I like how Frieren saw right through his little like tough front, but she saw how much potential he had at the same time. It kind of took her for him to realize how strong he actually is. Him and Eisen had a bit of a disagreement as well, and that was also due to a lack of communication too. He just assumes that his master was disappointed when he hit him, and he was hurt that Eisen never praised him. But in reality, Eisen's body moved on his own instinct because he felt threatened by him. He even told Frieren, but he didn't tell Stark, and that's why they fell out. Side note, they faces when Stark wasn't there the next day was funny as look how disappointed these niggas look. Oh man, that dragon fight was pretty fire, folks. Stark shit on that dragon. And this was yet another one of those fights that show like that they can really hang when it comes to this animation shit. Another little side note, Fern using that spell to see through clothes and tell Stark that his dick is little was nasty work, boy. That's nasty work. Disgusting work, folks. Adding Stark to the bunch only made the party funnier because Fern really hated that nigga for no reason at first. But she awkward as hell too, so she ain't even really had the means to talk to him at all until he opened up about his reasoning for going on the journey. When I say no one knows how to communicate in this show, I really mean it. Folks, when the guard at the gate was looking for Frieren after they let them in, and she was just hiding from the nigga when she didn't even do anything, all folks was trying to do was apologize for. Like, I didn't realize how awkward niggas was in this show until I took like a retrospective look at it. Like, it's really crazy. I think when the demons first pulled up is when we first got to see how cold and ruthless Frieren really was. When she said Lugnar's, she upped that spell with the extended mags and immediately and indubitably with maximum velocity, folks. And she even got like 2 years like in the dungeon for that shit. And she was just like, shit, it is what it is, folks. Side note, I really love the way they wrote the demons. This is a little weird, but I kind of like how irredeemable these niggas are. They're sick as hell and they slide and extremely manipulative. Like in the flashback, the girl that the Himmel saved and the one that was like, she said like mother or father while crying. I don't remember which one it was. Then she ends up killing like someone's daughter after they saved her. And the funny thing is, we find out that later on that they don't even know what mother and father means. They just know that we get an emotional reaction out of it and we sympathize with that word. I was like, damn, that's sick as hell. Good lord. That nigga dropped our shit was sweet with his little dental floss magic half in the ass. Folks got his goof ass smoked, but the best was yet to come. Stark and Fern fighting Lugner, and his little one was fire too. Fern pulled up to that palace window with the Glock dookie and sent an Alan Wake flashlight beam through his shit. Fern was unfazed the entire fight. I was confident in her the whole time, especially the way she was walking that nigga down. And side note, this fight was absolutely gorgeous. His music was phenomenal. They did a really good job. They do a really good job at making sure they turn up the production on everything during these fights. Stark was over there getting his ass Duke, I'm not gonna lie. But crazy twist. The demon that he was fighting was imitating Aizen's fighting style because she's seen him fight before, so it made sense. The other side note, the collision between Lugner and Fern's magic to create fireworks in the background for Stark's fight is a phenomenal touch. For this is so raw. Oh my god, y'all went stupid on this bitch. But they both clutched up in the end, and they ended this crazy ass fight. And Frieren versus Aura. Ooh, man, this shit was raw. We already know that Frieren was raw and cold-blooded by this point, but this shit was absolutely savage. Aura was so confident that she used her scale and threw her life savings into a parlay, and that's how confident she was in her having more mana than Frieren. And good God, was that the wrong move. She took Frieren for under 25.5 points, and Frieren told her ass, hey, Fauna, you know I've been suppressing my mana my whole life, damn near, right? And she was like, why are you doing that goofy ass shit? Like, this stupid ass shit, why are you doing that? And she took off that seal and dropped 80 on her stupid ass, boy. And then making her kill herself was the ultimate way to end this fight. This little conflict was really cool overall, and it was really good for Stark's like first outing as a part of the party. And we got a lot of good development with the main cast in this little conflict. The in-between part after this was actually pretty cool too. We met Kraft in a pretty funny way. It was cool to see another elf, cool to see them just chill him to the winter pass. Frieren has another one of those deja vu moments and a pretty sweet moment with Kraft. I really love this scene. The hero sword thing was kind of a surprise, I'm not gonna lie. It was cool to see them have this like fairy tale type testing going on, and even the most heroic nigga we met in the show couldn't pull it from the rock. It was still pretty raw, because he said there's nothing wrong with being a fake hero. He definitely backed up his talk, because that fake hero definitely saved the world. They used this in-between time to develop Stark and Fern's relationship too. I enjoyed all of it. Nigga, that little scene with the clouds is so funny, because Fern was really painting like this valiant picture of Stark in her head, just to be disappointed damn near instantly. And the look on her face when he was about to tell her what the clouds look like is hilarious, folks. This is grade A comedy. A lot of this show's comedy comes from niggas' facial expressions when other niggas talking, but I love it. Frieren has yet another one of those really thoughtful moments on Stark's birthday, and she even says like they're all awkward as hell, and I'm like, that's what I'm saying. They even picked up a temporary extra party member and signed. Although it was short-lived, he actually helped them all a decent amount and even saved their lives too. It was cool to see the dynamic that he brought to the group, being like the big brother type figure to Fern and Stark, and he even like taught Stark a little game, and it was like fun to watch. I really like his dynamic that he brought. And then we arguably get to the best sequence in the show, which is the first class major exams. Up until now, this show has been really like meticulous when introducing new and significant characters. They've been introducing them one by one, some new, some old, and all as a result of Frieren's past adventures and current adventures right now. But now, all of a sudden, we got like 10 new niggas to vibe with. So I was wondering how this is gonna work out with this show's pacing. But I'm happy to say that they did their shit. This show does a great job of giving everybody time to show who they are and find their place into the narrative. And a couple of them have like my favorite moments in the show. All three of the tests were really good in its own right. So let's talk about them. Test 1 was fire because it was damn near a battle royale disguise, and they did the right thing by having Frieren and Fern on separate squads, giving us a demonstration of how they interact and adapt with people outside their main party. There was a lot of cool ass moments in this first test. Fern's squad versus Warbell's squad was great. They kind of baited me with Warbell's character low key, because at first glance folks looked kind of like this evil mercenary nigga until he hesitated killing Ubel. He's way more of a nice guy than I thought. Frieren versus Dankin was a great fight. Frieren breaking the barrier was a raw ass moment because the test proctor really thought that hoe was not gonna break. And that moment led to another good fight with Lawine and Kane versus Richter. But we gotta talk about my favorite moment in this bitch game. This moment right here solidified Dinkin as one of my favorite characters in the show because it's crazy because we just met the nigga. When they were all out of mana and they pulled up on that other squad in the same boat, I wasn't very sure what was happening here. Shit, Richter didn't either, apparently. But when I seen that nigga roll his sleeves back, I was like, ain't no way he's trying to throw them bitches. But he indeed was, fuck. This shit was funny as hell because I never seen this before. Usually in anime, it may just be out of mana in other shows, fuck, and they just stop fighting, for they just be out the fight. But this nigga Dinkin was on his customer service type beat and told Shorty ass, I'm sorry for the inconvenience, sir. We're all out of mana, but here's a complimentary set of paws for you and your trouble, fuck. And drive rushed to the meanest uppercut, bro. That shit was so funny. I wish we could have seen that fight, I'm not gonna lie. But shit, they came out with the bird, so we knew who won, but what's understood don't need to be explained, gang. The second test was pretty fire as well. They had no idea what was in that tomb, so shit definitely looked sweet for a little while until they ran into them replicas. Gang, when Dinkin opened that door and seen Frieren in that bitch levitating like a final boss of a Dark Souls game, nigga, I was howling. Cause I know folks' ass was terrified. I knew he wanted to break that bottle. He opened that door and said, yeah, hell no, and closed that bitch right back. And not only did they have to deal with her clone, they had to deal with a clone of the test proctor in there too. Moving that fight against the test proctor's replica was pretty raw. Low-key, her ass OP with her fine ass. Fern and Frieren versus Frieren's replica was godlike for real. It's a really good fight. It's kind of scary to see Frieren without her like charm or unserious mannerisms. That clone was on straight bullshit with they ass, folk. And honestly, I thought they were gonna do some funny shit and beat her with a mimic, but they full set the fight and it was amazing. It was an amazing thing to watch. The main thing that I appreciate about the third test is them showing us Ciri's demeanor and how she handled like having all those people making it to the final stage. I really thought that she was gonna fail all them niggas. But it was cool to see her interview all the participants. Side note, I know these scenes for like hitting the game winner for all you freaky feet niggas, so I bet she our favorite character. My favorite interview here was with Lan. Bro, finding out this nigga been at the crib the whole time is hilarious. These niggas been fighting for their life throughout all this shit. This nigga over here listening to New Edition while vacuuming the carpet, nigga. But it was also nice to see how Fern stood 10 toes on the hell nah, I'm Frieren student gang, and still getting past anyway. And it was cool to see Frieren's like history with Ciri, or Sari, or whatever, however you pronounce that shit. Sari's seeing so much potential in Frieren. Obviously, if this was like a fair interview, she would pass, but Frieren isn't the mage that she was expecting her to be. And because Frieren is interested in power, she was like collecting spells, and she hated her whole philosophy of magic. So I guess you could say that she was living in her head rent-free all these years. My fault. I'm super excited to see what they have in store for us in the Northern Lands. I'm excited to see more of the main cast from the current timeline and the past timeline. The story of Frieren is arguably perfect for me personally, because it heavily depends on how you like your story presented, but I vibe with it. Like, it's super consistent, super engaging. Like, it's a really well-written story. My favorite characters are Frieren herself, Fern, Stark, Himmel, Lan, Dinkin, Ubel, and Sign. Frieren is just a super well-rounded main character. Her backstory is pretty tragic, but it's like comforting at the same time. It's kind of weird. She's funny as hell most of the time. She's really awkward, but her heart is like 99.9% always in the right place. A lot of the mini arguments that she gets into with Fern could easily be remedied with her just straight up speaking about it, but I don't think that she really has a grasp on how though. You won't ever hear Frieren say shit like, I love you or I care for you, but she'll do something that'll make you feel loved and cared for and smile at you or act oblivious after, because that's all she's damn near capable of. A perfect example is after the test with Fern's stab. I actually like the way they wrote her. She be learning, so she's learning even though she's been alive for a long ass time. Learning how to communicate better, learning how to value her time better with her companions, learning how to make as many memories with them as possible, learning how to keep a realistic mindset when it comes to her companion's time, and learning how to keep Himmel's legacy and ideology alive. She's kind of like a strict mother figure at times, but sometimes she's kind of like an irresponsible and reckless little sister vibe. So she has hella balance in the party. Frieren is a very likable character, and she has a good amount of depth that makes you really want to see more of her and how she's going to end up in the future. I really like Fern. She's really like the responsible one of the group, but she's actually like one of the most sensitive. She spends a lot of time with this little pal face that's like absolutely one of the most adorable things I'll damn near ever see. A lot of the times Frieren and Stark are literally just trying to cheer her up, but it never gets old. They always come to a solution though, because she's forgiving. and she knows that she tends to be dramatic. Outside of that, I actually enjoy her a lot. I kind of like how they show how concerned she was about Frieren actually caring about her and liking her. She's in a very abnormal situation with a very abnormal being, so it's cool to see her react like a normal person. It's cool to see how much she's progressed as a maid and just as a person in general. They did a really good job with her. I love the dynamic that she brings to the party. Stark is a really enjoyable character too. He reminds me a lot of Zenitsu from Demon Slayer, but he's way less annoying. He's pretty funny and super honest. He's really blunt sometimes. It's hilarious. The first example that comes to mind is when he was listening to Fern vent about Frieren, and she said that Frieren doesn't understand me. He was like, shit, he ain't really read the room for real. He was like, shit, I'm gonna keep it a bean screen with you, gang. I don't really understand your ass either. And she just start hitting the nigga, for. I really like Stark, for. I really like him and Fern's dynamic. They're really setting them up to date, and that's cool, I guess. Like, I don't really mind it. But I like how he picked up from Stein while traveling with him, and now he's more the mediator in the argument and in the group. He's still a little immature, but he's trying, you know? I'm so happy to see that his brother at least loved him before he lost him. And he even made sure that the guy that he did the soiree job for, he was pretending to be his son, he made sure that he was treating his youngest son right, even though he wasn't the strongest. Unlike the way his father treated him when he was young. He's a very good character. He plays a really good role in the main team. Frieren and the gang have met a lot of cool niggas along the way, so I'm gonna use this time to highlight some of my favorites, lightning round type shit. We only seen Kraft for about an episode, but he was actually pretty cool. I really like the exchange between him and Frieren in the woods, and honestly, I hope we see him again before the show ends. Sign was fire, because he was kind of like the reckless big brother type, but he was super dependable in every situation. I hope we get an update on his situation and maybe get him back in the party again. All Denkin had to do was throw them bitches one time, and he became one of my favorite characters. Yes, my standards are very low. All they had to do was show Lan being in the crib the whole time this shit was happening. He became one of my favorite characters. Yes, my standards are very low. Now, I actually have a really good reason why I like Ubel. Her ass fine, gang. Nah, me? It's something about them slightly crazy ones that get me, for. It's just like a little less murder, you feel me? A little less murder, you'll be straight, you feel me? All you need to do is make her black, and that's basically like Tim's for real. What about Fern? Overall, I ain't gonna lie, I think Frieren is like in a whole lane of his own, and it's a super enjoyable experience. And I'm really glad they confirmed the sequel. I need all parts. I need to meet more characters from the old party. I need to see more people in the future and the new. I want Stein back. I'm not gonna lie, I really want Stein back. And like, I want to see these like relationships develop further, and I want to see Frieren actually become good at talking to people. There's a lot of things that's happening in this show. It's so easy to keep me engaged with this show. I really love it. But that's all for me, man. Thank you for being stupid with me for a little while, man. As always, man, I hope y'all have a great day. Love y'all, man. Peace.
Sometimes we seem to disagree. Pray that you protect the and increase my sympathy. I'm a mini you, one day I'll have a mini me. I'm your son, I shouldn't treat you like an enemy. I get a no.